Good evening, everyone. It's Georgia. I can see everyone's starting to come in, so very welcome, everyone. While we're waiting for everyone to jump onto the SAPIN student accommodation webinar, can you guys do me a bit of a favor and drop in the chat box just where you guys are from, so that I can just see where everyone's from. So you can just drop in the chat which town, which city you guys are from, so that we can see where everyone's from. Awesome. Neil, Port Elizabeth, Sego, Jaco, Pretoria, Chris, Bloom. Yes, see, there's loads of you guys coming in. Julian, Durban, guys from Boksburg, Calvin, Peter Maritzburg, Awesome. Ludwig, Port Elizabeth. Yeah, there's loads of you guys on here. Super exciting. Okay. So while everyone is logging on, and before we actually start the webinar, so guys, what makes this really effective is when I get loads of reaction from you guys. So what I wanted to quickly start with before we formally jump in, I want you to mention one thing in the chat box. What is the one main reason why you decided to join us on the student accommodation webinar tonight? Is there one specific thing you're looking for, one breakthrough moment? What is the main reason why you guys wanted to join us for the webinar session tonight? Okay, Chris, knowledge. No wrong answers, guys. You can just drop it in there. Maximize profit, Calvin. Awesome. That's brilliant. Some delay says how to assess students and ensure sustainable cash flow, possible funding models. Jaco Jordan, 20 students in student accommodation in Wellington. Not too far from me, yeah, in the Winelands. How's it, Jaco? Possible, understand the model. There's loads of you guys that says knowledge, maximize profit, build and manage a team. Wow, guys, this is really cool feedback. Awesome. Okay, brilliant, guys. This looks amazing. Let's switch this heater off. Okay, guys, so I'm going to jump in. Looks like most of the people have logged on. Vickers, the toy, passive income. Awesome. Superkile, trying to understand different strategies if student accommodation is for me. That's awesome. Okay. Currently over 100 people. That's cool. Okay, guys. So let's jump in. I've got a lot to share with you tonight. Firstly, I want to welcome you. It's really cool to be with you. Firstly, I wanted to say, guys, there's quite a lot of information that I need to get through, right? And I want to add as much value as I can. So I'm going to try and interact with you. Obviously, I can't hear you guys, so I'm going to ask questions consistently as we move through the webinar and the presentation. And what basically lifts the energy levels and motivates me to share as much value with you guys is if you guys interact with me through the chat, the webinar chat box, because that shows me where you guys are and how you're engaging with me. Okay. So what I wanted to say quickly, just a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, I am going to give out some incentives and bonuses right at the end of the webinar. So we'll see. We're kind of aiming for we're aiming for about an hour and a half or so. Might go over that a little bit. But yeah, for those of you guys that stay with me until the end, I'm going to add some incentives and bonuses. Also, what I wanted to ask you guys, please, Sam and Janine is in the background. And as we go through the presentation and the webinar, if there's a specific question you have, please drop it in the Q&A section. And then at the end of the webinar, they are going to read that to me and I'm going to answer that. Right? And then we are going to dive in. Okay. So firstly, guys, again, for the third time, welcome tonight. It's George King here. I'm connecting with you on this webinar straight from the Winelands here in the Western Cape. I will share a little bit about my story and my background in a little bit, where I come from and how I kind of ended up here. But before I do that, I'm quickly going to jump in and just talk to you a little bit about what you can expect to walk away with tonight. Okay? It's always good to know what you can walk away with. So at the end of this webinar workshop, I'm going to show you how I've turned my first student property that was negatively cash flowing into a positive cash flow property of 15 to 20,000 Rand per month. I'm going to show you how you can do the same, even if you're starting from scratch. If you haven't invested into property or student accommodation, my whole aim tonight, guys, is to show you what is possible for you and what you will be able to achieve through the vehicle, the investment vehicle of student accommodation. I'll also talk to you a little bit about why most student accommodation landlords lose money and miss the lifestyle, the lifestyle of semi-passive income as they go through the journey of investing in student accommodation. And also the strategies and the systems we use to flip that around, okay, so that you can build the portfolio that you want to and live the life that you love to live, okay? We're also going to talk a little bit about how you're going to build a student portfolio that funds your future without quitting your job. A lot of people I speak to tell me, George, do I need to leave my job? No, you don't. I didn't leave my job when I started building a portfolio, so I'm going to talk to you about that. And I'm also going to show you that you don't have to do it alone, okay? I'm going to share some of the school fees I've paid and the mistakes I've made. One of them is to try and do it alone, so we're going to try and avoid that. And then you'll have a clear roadmap to start full and scale without burning out or having loads of empty rooms and vacancies in your student property portfolio. Right. Okay, guys, some of you are asking, will this recording be available later to work through it? Yeah, we are recording this. So, and you will have my contact details at the end of the webinar. So then you can be in contact with myself, Sam and Janine, and then we can get some of the information over to you. Okay. So let me jump into this, guys. So I'm going to quickly share how did I get to this point? Okay, so my story starts in the village of Paarl here in the Winelands. So I went to school here. I matriculated in Paarl. For those of you that's not familiar with this part of the world, we as the people that come from Paarl are very proud of two things. Obviously, our wine exports. And then I always make this joke, our ability to manufacture future Springbok rugby players like few other places in South Africa. For those of you that are rugby fans will know that it's absolutely incredible how this region is able to manufacture future talent for the Springboks. So we also almost coming into the inter-schools for this time of the year between two of the biggest rugby schools in South Africa. So it's interesting to see what's going on. But anyway, so I went to matriculated in Paarl, went straight over to Stellenbosch and started studying investment management. Okay. And one of the interesting things that I discovered when I started my studies is my dad actually gave me the well-known book that we're all familiar with, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. Okay. And during that time, I heard people say two things when it comes to investment. The one is that one of the eight wonders of the world is compound interest. And also, I heard this concept of capital growth. And people kept saying to me that if you start investing as early as possible, then the compound interest effect will become bigger and bigger over time. So I just thought to myself, so if I can start my investment journey as early as possible, then obviously this compound interest effect will just kick in as early as possible, and I will work towards one of my dreams and goals, which was financial independence. But unfortunately, what ended up happening is I actually realized I started investing in property around 2010, and I quickly realized that probably within like the first 2 years, I realized that on paper, it looks in terms of capital growth, it's not looking bad, but my monthly cash flow is I'm literally moving backwards. So the goal was obviously to move forward and build a passive income that can cover my monthly expenses. But the strategy I was using is I was focusing mostly on apartments and townhouses. So I would buy them and then just keep them. Okay. And 2 years in, I've made this horrendous discovery that if I'm going to continue with this strategy, I'm definitely not going to be able to achieve my goal, which is financial independence. And deep down, I realized that I've got a huge problem. I've heard about everyone that uses property as an investment vehicle. It's a great investment vehicle to build semi-passive income. But for some reason, I was literally seeing the opposite of what I thought was possible. And I realized, somehow I just realized this whole concept of just focusing on capital growth or compound interest when it comes to property is not working. Okay. I call it a phantom concept. It literally just didn't work for me. And what started happening to me was I actually started looking at deals, and because I didn't see consistent results, I felt, well, is this actually a good deal? Is it actually, I had no idea to gauge, is it good or is it bad? And for some reason, my confidence started taking a knock. And I almost came to a point where I decided to, you know what, this is not going to work. And I actually built up this belief system that property as an investment vehicle doesn't work. You can't achieve it. Even though people tell you that it's possible, I started believing that it's no longer possible. Okay, and then something incredible happened. I actually heard of a guy through a property investor network of mine, of a guy that was investing in student accommodation in the town of Bloemfontein. Okay. And I heard that this guy literally started building a student accommodation portfolio from a young age to a point where he was literally able to leave his full-time job and focus all his attention on his student accommodation portfolio. And so we arranged a Zoom call, and we started and we jumped on this call, and I was a little bit nervous because obviously I didn't know what he was going to ask me. And one of the first questions he asked me after we did some small talk is he asked me, George, what is your current property investment portfolio cash flowing? And so I almost kind of ignored his question because I knew that, it wasn't in a great position, but he just kept asking me. And it was like a massive reality check for me to discover that this portfolio that I've been building up over a 5 to 7 year period was literally, the guy literally told me that if that was his portfolio, he would literally stop investing in property. And that was a huge reality check for me. Okay. So that was the moment where I realized I cannot rely on capital growth anymore. I need to pivot into a different strategy. And I also need to start surrounding myself with people that believe and have the results to show that they are able to build a strong cash flow portfolio when it comes to the investment strategy and student accommodation. Then we call it the small win that changed everything. So guys, what I wanted to quickly talk to you about in this slide is I then decided through actually the same guy introduced me to a group that specializes in student accommodation. And what ended up happening was they introduced me to this deal. Okay. Now, if you look at the numbers on the slide, you'll see right at the bottom, when we bought this property, we bought it for at around minus 6,000 Rand cash flow per month. Now, you might be asking, George, how on earth can you tell me that student accommodation is a great investment if you bought this property for minus 6,000 Rand? Okay. But before we do that, I want to actually ask you guys a quick question. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term of investing in a property with a twist. Okay. So it basically means you're buying a property where you can add a lot of value. So this property came with a twist. Okay. So before I tell you what we did with it to change things around, where we went from a negative cash flow of minus 6,000 to, and I'll show you the numbers in the next slide. What do you guys think, if you look at that building, what do you think was the main twist that we brought in to change the monthly income significantly from a negative point to a positive point? You guys can drop what you think in the chat box. Then let me have a quick look what you say. Okay. So we've got location, partitioning, garages into rooms, advertising boards, the converted garage into rooms, yeah. Rented per room. Rezoning, better management of utilities. Awesome, guys. So almost all of you guys are correct. So this is okay, prepaid, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to flip to the next slide. Before I tell you what we did right here, I'm going to tell you what we did wrong. Okay, so we ended up overspending on renovations because firstly, we didn't do proper due diligence on the builder. Okay, so we definitely overspent on the renovations. And another big mistake I made was I trusted in a rental agency that promised me that they will get my building fully occupied around the month of end of February, early March. Okay, so I trusted them. I thought, okay, well, these guys are the experts. Let me trust them. Okay, what ended up happening is they didn't fill up this building to 50% occupied. So when the university started in 2023, this building was 50% occupied. So we were losing about 20,000 Rand per month. And one of the things that I learned there in that moment was you have to do your own due diligence and you need to be in control of the investment. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the webinar, but I'm quickly going to show you. So some of you guys spoke about converting rooms into garages. So the main twist for this property was the fact that we changed the layout of the building and we added additional rooms. Okay, so a lot of you might have heard that people say that a good deal, you don't buy a good deal, you make a good deal. Okay, that's if you walk into a property, and we're going to show you how to do that, you need to immediately see the potential to twist that property. This one was change the layout, and add additional rooms. And some of you guys said, let's charge per bed. So with student accommodation, obviously you don't just charge per room. If it's a shared room, you charge per bed. Okay. So you guys will see when we bought it, we were negative 6,000 Rand. When we brought in all the value and made all the changes, we're currently sitting around, it fluctuates between 15 to 20,000 Rand positive cash flow per month. And I've also worked in a 10% vacancy level on this deal. Okay. So to add a bit of value, guys, so we renovated, we painted this building, we changed the room layout. We've also, another thing that I did is I actually let the rental agency go. We stepped in, we took control, we did our own property 24 adverts, okay, and we started vetting our own students and we started placing them in the building. Okay, so we added simple systems that started helping us to remotely manage this property. So as I said to you guys, I live in the Western Cape. Most of our student accommodation properties, well, all of them are currently in the Eastern Cape, in Port Elizabeth. So we were forced to implement the right systems and processes to be able to remotely manage this property, which brings in the passive rental or the passive income scenario that so many people want to go after when they invest in property. Okay, guys, what I want you to understand is this isn't magic. This is literally just us following the right systems and processes, surrounding us with the right people to help us make better decisions. So what I want you to understand is, guys, you can do exactly the same if you surround yourself with the right people, support, resources, and team. Okay. Let me quickly, I'm going to try and go through this a bit quicker. Okay, so what's happening in my life at the moment, from being in a place 5 years ago where I literally felt super overwhelmed. I was losing money on most of our deals. I was paying school fees left, right, and center. Currently, as things stand, we've got a 60+ student accommodation business. We're generating roughly, just in this business, we're generating about 150,000 Rand turnover per month. And again, guys, it's just because we learned how to implement the right systems and processes, put the right team around us, and we're following a strategy that's in alignment with the goals where we wanted to go. Okay. And as you can see here in the slide, I don't just only invest, I now coach, I mentor, I speak at different property investment events. And I'm also here, one of my passions is to share my journey, my mistakes, create a roadmap for you guys, okay, so that we can fast track your journey and build something that's really scalable and will make a huge change in your financial goals. And many of you that's on this call tonight, one of your main goals will probably be financial independence. Actually, while we're talking about that, guys, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to property investment and building a property portfolio, what is the main driver why you want to invest in property? If you can drop that in the chat box. Okay, Kanya says he's also based in Cape Town. Okay, Dean says, where's Dean now? There's so many. Cash flow, Robin, additional cash flow, financial freedom, long passive income, financial freedom. Okay. Financial freedom, inheritance for my kids. Okay, awesome, guys. Yeah. cash flow, to Melo, financial freedom and legacy, long-term investment. Okay, awesome. Okay, great. So what I want to do now, guys, is I want you to quickly put your dream hat, imagine hat on. A lot of you guys spoke about financial independence, okay? But I want you to imagine, okay, what it would mean if you are able to finally own a student accommodation portfolio that didn't just look good on paper. Remember my phantom concept about capital growth? That was a phantom concept. It looked great on paper, but if you were able to build a student accommodation portfolio that actually paid you every single month, okay, consistently, I want you to imagine what it will mean if you woke up without that consistent financial pressure because you had a clear path and knew exactly what to do next to move towards your goal. We talk a lot about simple systems. What if you could implement the right systems in the background so that you could be present with your family or your loved ones while the income is coming in? Okay, I'm going to share my why with you in a bit, but that's a big why for me is I want consistent income coming in and spend time with people that I love. Okay, I want you to imagine you weren't chasing freedom anymore. You were living it one small decision at a time. And then this is a big one for me as well. And deep down, you felt this time it didn't just start, you actually pulled through and you saw the end result. Okay, guys, this is literally what is possible if we take you through the same process that we went through. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to be fairly real with you guys. Okay, I talk to a lot of people in the property investment space and especially in student accommodation, and I put some of the biggest fears down. Okay, why people decide not to invest in student accommodation. Okay, so as I read through these fears, I want to ask you guys, what are the main fears? What are the main obstacles holding you back to get into student accommodation at the moment? Okay, you can just drop it in the chat box. I'll quickly share with you what my main fears are and the things that I see that the people that I talk to. Most people believe it's too much work. They've got a full-time day job, a family, okay, and they've got limited time. So they believe it's not possible to get into student accommodation. They believe that, like with me in the beginning, they wanted to outsource everything to a rental agency. That's one of the things that they believe. Some people believe that they don't have enough experience, so they believe that they're going to mess it up. Okay, Vika says procrastination. Jason, buying a property that costs me money doesn't bring in cash flow. Yeah, that's good. NSFAS is a problem. Yeah. I can see there's a lot of people here worried about NSFAS and not getting paid. Okay, one of the great benefits of journeying with us, we focus not just on NSFAS students, but also on private students, which pays us every month. Okay, and then another thing that I see a lot is the fact that people believe that this might work for me or for other guys, but it won't work for them. Pilo says, I need mentorship and guidance. Okay. Okay. So guys, before we go further, I quickly wanted to drop in a bit of a disclaimer. Okay. So like anything in life, I'm not going to guarantee anything. There's no magic formula. Okay. I'm not going to guarantee overnight success story. But what I can tell you, and I think most of you will agree with me, is that property is one of the most powerful vehicles to build long-term wealth. Okay. And if you follow the right strategy and you're willing to do the work, I mean, use me as an example. I started with my first deal. I was bleeding cash. okay, just because I was making the right moves, getting the right help, okay. Today I've built a portfolio that gives me back my time freedom, okay. And I wanted to say to you guys that there will be one determining factor if you guys are able to move forward. And you probably, a lot of us don't like this, but it comes down to taking action, guys. You're going to have to be willing to say, I'm going to take the action. I'm going to move forward. Okay. And you have to be ready to commit. And I'm going to show you a roadmap and a path that took us in the right direction. Okay. Quickly, for those of you that don't know me, I'm going to quickly just share a few key things about my background, which I think just gives you guys a bit of credibility in terms of where I come from. And then also I want to share one or two life lessons that I think is super relevant to all of us. Okay. So when I went to university in Stellenbosch, I counted as a big privilege that I was able to study there. I had a friend, he always says that when he studied at Stellenbosch, his degree was the most, he was studying engineering, and he studied a 4-year degree, and it took him 5 or 6 years, so 2 years longer. And he said that studying at Stellenbosch was one of his most expensive holidays he ever took in his life. So I always remember that story, because one of the things that was quite an interesting experience for me when I went to university was, and a lot of you will probably be able to relate to this, is you obviously do a lot of lectures and get educated, like a more traditional form of education. Okay. But I've realized, if I look back on my journey, that the most valuable education that I received, I call it transformational education. Okay. So transformational education is when people share information with you and you are able to immediately apply that. Okay. And what makes these type of forums, the SAPIN type of forum and networks, so incredibly valuable is people are sharing information with you that had a profound impact on their lives, made a massive transformation, but then you also are challenged to go out and apply it. Okay. And that was one of my biggest challenges with traditional education in place like Stellenbosch, there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of information, but while you're going through that, you don't get a lot of opportunity to apply it immediately. And the best way that we learn is if we're able to immediately apply it. Okay, guys? So something that I've learned, on my journey is when you guys look at different resources of information to help you on your journey to reach your financial goals, is always look for people that were able to already get the results that you are looking for, and then allow them to share their knowledge with you, because the chances is they're not going to be able to just share the information with you. They're going to be able to give you a roadmap of how to get there. Okay. So I then decided, right after I got my degree at Stellenbosch, a lot of my friends stayed in South Africa. I decided I wanted to go overseas. I went to the UK because I really wanted to see what's out there. Okay. And guys, one of the biggest things that I can challenge you with is that as soon as we decide to take action and take risk in life, the chances is that we're going to see opportunities that was never available to us when we stayed in our comfort zone. Okay. And one of the opportunities that I got by going to the UK is I was exposed to companies and networks of people that I would never ever be able to access if I stayed in Paarl and in the Western Cape in South Africa. And many of those opportunities that I accessed opened up business opportunities for me and networks for me. And the profound thing that I see today is because I took the risk, because I stepped out, okay, one of the things that opened up for me was really influential networks, okay? And those networks don't only have an impact in my life, it actually has an impact in my bigger family's life. Okay, so what I want to encourage you, another lesson that I've learned, guys, is if you step out of your comfort zone, okay, and you take opportunities, okay, the worst thing that can happen is you can only learn. You can only learn by taking that step of faith, right? Okay. And because I basically followed that route, okay, I was able to work for companies that helped high net worth investors to invest in property all over the world, okay, and I was fortunate enough to be part of a team of guys that across two companies that raised more than $100 million of capital to invest in different property vehicles across different countries. Okay. Again, that comes back to the network that I'm involved today with. Okay. And a lot of the skills that I've learned in those networks are many of the skills that I also apply today in my student accommodation portfolio. Okay. I worked as a property manager in the UK, and a lot of those skills that I learned in the UK I actually apply in my student accommodation portfolio today. Okay. And so we fluctuate any given time between 80 to up to 95% occupancy across our student portfolio. Okay. And then, and another thing I also said here is I'm not just an investor, I'm actually moving into a space where I help other people. I coach other people, I help other people to achieve the same results that we were able to get through the vehicle of student accommodation. Okay. Cool. Guys, I want to quickly ask you something. So this slide is all about what is your why? Okay. I'll quickly share with you what my why is. Okay. Two things. Family. So you can see my family there. Okay. So that's one of my big values is my family. And then secondly, a big value for me is growth and empowerment. So that's why I'm passionate about working with business people and investors to see them grow and empower to reach the goals that they are passionate about. Okay. So I heard an interesting thing the other day that someone said that we all talk about we want to do what we're passionate about, okay, in the business and investment world. And he said something interesting. He said the definition of passion is not just if you really like something or you're super passionate about it, is if you're willing to suffer for something, you're willing to sacrifice for something. So I want you to think about that, guys, is what are you passionate about to a point where you're willing to be uncomfortable and a little bit where you might have to suffer for it a little bit, okay? And let's connect that to your why, because that is the most powerful driver, the fundamental driver that serves as a foundation when we want to start building something like a property portfolio. So what I wanted to ask you guys, drop in the chat box. I know it's quite a personal question. What is your why? What are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to sacrifice for? Because that will be the deciding factor if we push through and really push through in terms of what we wanted to achieve at the end of the day. Cedric says wealth and respect. Nompilo, developing community and creating jobs. Awesome, Nompilo. Meraki, family and peace. Dean, legacy, awesome, love it. Yeah, that's cool. Dean says legacy. Property is one of the investment vehicles where you can build a legacy because you can structure it in such a way that your family can benefit, your children's children can benefit from what you build now. So that's awesome. Bernard, empower youth. Simpa, financial freedom, my family having stability. Okay. Isabella, being a part of a solution for the youth to contribute to the careers. Awesome. Guys, these are awesome whys, right? These are deep-seated whys. Okay. When we do coaching with people, this is one of the first things I want to know, because this is the fuel. This is the petrol that's going to get you to that end destination. Purpose and destiny. Okay. Awesome, guys. So, I've already shared my why, so I'm going to go over this one. Basically just said it's not just, I'm not just passionate about property. I'm passionate about what it represents. Okay. So now I'm quickly going to talk to you guys. My Lucy, to come out of poverty and break the cycle. That's amazing. Love it. Okay. Okay. So what I want to do here is I just want to talk to you quickly, guys, who this is for. Okay. This training that we're going to do, the student accommodation vehicle, investment vehicle. Some of us are we've tried to wing it. Okay. You're done with that. You want to get real clarity, not just more info. You've seen what not having a system costs. Some people go into student accommodation without the system and processes. They burn out. I'm going to share some real life examples with you. Two deals that we did, and one of the main reasons why we were able to buy those properties is that the landlords burned out because there was a lack of systems and processes. Okay, you guys. Some of you are now ready to do it right. You're not chasing the hype and not just the quick buck. You want consistent cash flow and real security. Student accommodation is a great asset to do that. And you're ready to build something meaningful for your future and your freedom. And you guys have already shared, a lot of you have shared that that's one of the main drivers why you want to be here. Okay, just quickly, this is not for you if you're looking for a quick rich scheme. Obviously, if you expect results without putting in the work, this is definitely not for you. If you're not open to learning or taking feedback and learn from mistakes and learn from the people around you, then this is definitely not going to work. And then I just throw in a little funny one. I said, if you hate students and dealing with their parents, then and don't want to deal with people, this is probably not the right business or opportunity for you. Okay. Okay, guys. So let me just have a quick look. There are still loads of you guys with us. So you are still here, which is awesome. So I quickly wanted to ask you a quick question before we get into the training part. We're going to start going into that now. The question I wanted to ask is, what's the one shift, okay, when it comes to student accommodation and building your portfolio, that would completely change your property journey over the next 6-12 months? If this one thing could happen for you, okay, I want you to share it quickly with me. What do you think will change things around for you? Okay, I just want to see what. Okay, constant, stop over analyzing. Okay, cash, Dean, yeah, Chris, cash flow, getting the properties. Okay, getting a building loan, clarity. I'm looking for property funding. Okay, buy my first property to get started. Approval of rezoning. Isabella, funding. Okay. Here's one that says, Mandla says, getting the location right. That's absolutely crucial. Sifa Mandla says, consistent payment every month. Vickers the tour, get the right mental skills. Vickers, we're actually going to look at that just now. Having capital and great portfolio funding. Okay, so there's quite a lot of you guys that says funding. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. I've got a good idea of what you guys are saying. Okay, so let's quickly look at um, what we're going to cover in the training tonight. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the demand that's already there. I'm going to share some incredible stats with you that's going to blow your mind about what's happening in the South African student accommodation market. And we literally just need to step in. Then I'm going to talk to you a bit about overcoming the number one fear in student accommodation investing. I'm going to share a bit of a technique and also a bit of like a technique or a strategy that I've used and that we use with our coaching clients to overcome the fear and get into an empowering mindset zone to take action. And I'll tell you why a lot of us can't take action. It's not because we're lazy or we don't have the talent or that we're not capable. There's a specific psychological reason for it. And then thirdly, we're going to look at how do you implement the right systems and outperform the competition. Absolutely incredibly important that we are able to implement the right systems, because that will be able to give us that edge over the competition and get the students and parents to come back to us and become ongoing clients of ours. And then take back control and position yourself to scale your portfolio. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about another formula that you need to follow before you make any investment. Okay. But before we do that, let's quickly jump into another deal. So what I want you guys to quickly look at in this deal, a lot of you guys were talking about funding. When I asked you if something could shift for you and something could change in the next 6 to 12 months, one of the things were funding. Okay. Now, this property, there were two reasons why we were able to get this property. Okay. The first reason was the landlord was already renting out to students, but because of the lack of systems and processes, they were under immense pressure. Okay. And when we arrived there, they were desperate to offload the property. So this is actually a residential house. And one of the resources that I'm going to share with you a little bit later on actually talks about how to identify the right property type in your area of choice. Okay, now in this area that we focus on, there's a lot of big old Victorian style type of houses. Okay, and what's incredible about this deal is we were actually able to pick this property up for about 200,000 Rand under market value. Okay. But the thing that I want you guys to see is look at the purchase value. Okay. I've added all the fees and all that, like the transfer fees and the bond originating fees. So this property was going for just over 1.2 million. Okay. We were able to secure 100% financing on this deal. Okay. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, guys, but who of you guys on this webinar tonight know that you will be able to qualify for, let's say, a 1.2 or 1.3 million Rand mortgage from a bank in South Africa? If you know that, if you know your affordability is strong enough, then just drop yes in the chat box. Okay, loads of you guys are just coming in with yeses. Okay. Now what I want to say to you is one of the most incredible things about property is you don't have to use your own money to be able to invest in property. Okay. In actual fact, seasoned property investors don't use their own money. They either raise it through a bank, and if they can't raise it through the bank, they raise it through private investor networks. Okay. And this property, if you are able to get funding for a property with 1.3 million, I want you to put yourself in this position, because when we bought this, it was a negative monthly cash flow of 11,000 Rand per month. Okay. This property also had a twist. We also changed the layout slightly, and we placed extra rooms into the property. Anyone on this call, anyone on this webinar will be able to do that. Okay? It was extra rooms, so we changed the layout, and our construction team added extra rooms. Okay? It's a very easy thing to do. I want you guys to see that it's not difficult. It's about finding the right property, having the funding for it, and then making sure that you add value through the twist. Okay? And you can do exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm quickly going to jump over to the numbers. So remember, we were minus 11,000 Rand negative. When we changed the layout, we placed the new students in the property. This property does over 20,000 Rand positive cash flow per month. Okay. And you can see included in expenses is a vacancy level of 10%. Okay. There are many times of the year where these properties are 100% occupied, but I've just put 10% in there just to have a conservative. Come from a conservative. So I want you guys to know that we're going to talk a little bit about in a second surrounding yourself with the right people, the right resources, and the right the tools and teams. And guys, if you follow the right process, I want to show you that this is not a difficult thing to do. Okay. So let's jump into the first training point that I wanted to talk to you about a bit tonight. Okay. A lot of people ask, why is student accommodation such a unique investment opportunity? Okay. And the number one reason is because of the demand versus the supply imbalance in South Africa. Now, all of us see these type of articles in the beginning of the year. Okay. The massive crisis that there is in student accommodation every single year. Literally thousands of students arrive in the capital or on these campuses, and these guys don't have accommodation when they arrive there. Guys, the thing that blows my mind is that you see this on a newspaper article, but if you've ever been there yourself and you see the absolute chaos and mayhem when thousands of students arrive at these campuses, it literally does something to you. You realize, wow, these are all children of parents that literally sent their kids to university or college, and they don't have a place to stay this week. Okay, it can be quite an emotional situation. Okay, and what blows my mind even more is most of the best performing student accommodation providers that I know, okay, across the country, their houses are already full and almost 100% occupied before these guys arrive at the campus. So the guys that you're seeing in these pictures, they don't have accommodation. The guys that do have accommodation don't sit there with their bags. They get on a taxi or an Uber and they go to the property where they already applied for in December and January. Okay, so guys, there is a massive opportunity, and companies all over the world do millions of dollars worth of market research to find business and investment opportunities where the demand outstrips the supply. Okay. And we've got it on literally on our front porch in every city in South Africa. Okay, so I said here, it's not a marketing problem, it's not a sales problem, it's a massive supply gap. That's what it is, and it's not getting better. You don't have to build from scratch. It's almost like a massive river. You just need to get in it, and you need to know how to catch fish. That's all you need to know. And we obviously, Lungelo says it's very chaotic. I can attest. Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly look at why this matters now. There's a huge deficit. The right investors that are able to create the right product and the right accommodation will definitely massively benefit from this. But it's important that we also avoid the common traps. So let's talk a little bit about the myths. So some people think I can buy a property anywhere, close to university or whatever, and I will be full. I can definitely tell you that's not always the case. That's why location is extremely important. Don't make the same mistake that I did about just outsourcing everything to a letting agent. Especially in the beginning, I would definitely suggest that you have more control to understand what's happening in your property. If you've got the process and systems in place, then I will also share with you guys how you can start passing that on to someone. And then I would also not say it's a passive income. I say you can definitely move towards semi-passive. I would call it strategic income. Okay, DJ, you're already one step ahead of me. So I wanted to ask, what do you guys think is the actual shortfall? So DJ, it's exactly the right number. So I'm just going to quickly jump to the next one. That is the number. Okay, so if we look at this slide, you'll see the orange line is the demand. Okay, and then the bottom one is the beds that are available. So you can see over the last 5 years, it's basically fluctuated between 300,000 to 500,000 beds shortage. But Tandwa, yes, there's loads of research out there. Loads of research out there to back those numbers. Okay, it's all over. You'll be able to find it. Okay, even the big corporates, Growth Point, the big listed property funds in South Africa are jumping in to try and solve this issue. It's a big challenge, and it's not disappearing overnight. And like anything in life, if you provide a quality product, I promise you, your people will flock to your properties. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the next issue, guys. This is the number one fear that I see when it comes to student accommodation investing. And I'm going to quickly, it's a little bit of a more like internal challenge, or like a mindset concept that I want to share with you. But if we're able to shift this, yeah, Lindy, thank you. All the questions in the Q&A section are sent to Sam directly and to Janine, and we'll cover that at the end. So thank you for that. So guys, I think I mentioned this quickly in a previous slide, but the real reason why people freeze and don't take action and obviously don't get breakthrough when it comes to investing in student accommodation is not because people are lazy or incapable. Okay, they get stuck because the brain, I'll quickly share with you, the brain is wired to avoid loss. Okay, so the concept is that they call it loss aversion. So basically what it comes down to is psychologists talk about this concept of loss aversion. It basically says that we as humans are wired that if we're in a state of loss aversion, that we fear losing, let's say, 100,000 Rand twice as much as we value gaining it. Even when there's a deal on the table where we almost guaranteed that we'll make money, if we're not in the right mindset and in the right environment, we will freeze. Okay. So I'm going to quickly share some of the amplified fears that we see in student accommodation. Okay. A lot of people believe that because of there's perceived complexity. So with tenants, turnover issues, regulations. I saw some of the people in the chat box said there's huge regulation issues, zoning issues. There's all these stories about tenants mismanaging the property and damaging properties. There's a lack of trustworthy mentors to clear the step-by-step systems. Okay. And what this really sounds to us like in our minds is we rationalize it. So you might recognize these type of concerns. What if I buy the wrong property and it stands empty? What if students trash the place and I'm stuck with all the bills? What if I get over my head with financing, tenants, or regulations? Okay, so we all are faced with these fears. Okay, so I quickly want to share a powerful concept with you guys so that we can start trying to break free from these types of fears. Okay, so it's not about the first step. A lot of people will tell you it's about mindset. Okay, just have the right mindset. Okay, it's actually the first step is not mindset. You start first by getting into the right environment. Okay, because empowering environments equals empowered action. Okay, so how do you empower yourself, or how do you get into an empowered environment? So the first thing that you do, guys, is you get around the right people with the right resources, strategies, and support. And if you consume that in that setting, what will naturally happen is your confidence levels will start to grow, and you will naturally be pulled or pushed towards taking action. No one's going to force you. Okay. On the contrary to that, a disempowering environment, okay, is when we don't have the support, we don't have the resources, we don't have the roadmaps, accountability, coaching, mentorship, okay? And because we lack confidence in that area, we freeze, we delay, and we start doubting. And that's when all the fear starts creeping in, okay? But here's the big thing, guys, okay? If you change your environment, your decisions will start changing. Your confidence levels will change. And you will start to feel confident to execute. Okay? And one of the things that I'm passionate about is what we've done, myself and SAPIN, is we've taken all the areas where we've paid school fees, and we know that most people that wants to get into the space are struggling with. We took all of that, okay, and we started pulling it together, and we start tailoring resources, courses, training, and coaching specifically built for you guys to go on this journey, okay, to get you into the right environment. And when you find it, everything gets easier, faster, and more repeatable. Okay. And like I said to you, everything that we share with the guys in our network, we've already done these things. We're not asking anyone to do anything that we haven't done ourselves. Okay. So that is the way that we break free from these fears. You can try and force someone to do something. If they are not in an empowered environment and they don't have the confidence levels, they will not take action. It's just as easy as that. Okay. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys will relate to this. If these fears resonate with you guys, drop the word yes in the chat box. Okay, loads of yeses coming in, guys. Okay. So you guys are definitely in the right place, which is awesome to know that. Okay. Let's jump into the third training point. Okay, which is how do you implement the right systems to outperform the competition? Okay. So I'm going to quickly share what happened to me when I didn't have the right systems. Okay. I believe the misconception is I'm going to outsource everything. Okay, outsource is a great concept, but we first need to implement the right systems and processes, and then after that's in place, we can start outsourcing it. Okay, so I handed everything over to a company I trusted, the rental agency I spoke to you guys about, and unfortunately, they filled the rooms without proper vetting. My rent was delayed. I had huge vacancies issues, and I also had, especially with the first property, we had huge issues with property maintenance and construction. Okay, so I've paid the school fees. I know exactly what to do and what not to do. Okay, so let's quickly look at a few things that we can do to set ourselves apart from the competition. So one of the easiest ways to do this, guys, is through professional decor and professional photos. Okay, so I want you guys to write this down. Property investment is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. Okay, so if you want to get into this space, you need to have the right team around you. And two of the greatest team members that you can add to your team, professional photographers and interior decorators. So I'll quickly give you a tip, guys. What we did at this property, and we do it now with every new property we buy, what we do is when we buy the property, even before transfer, we ask the seller if we can get access to the property. And then we stage one of the rooms. Okay, and then we place it on property 24. So after we've transferred and we're still busy doing maintenance, painting, we might even do small little construction jobs, etc. Our adverts are already running in the background. Okay, so that's why that's one of the first tips I give my coaching clients and the guys that do our courses is that's the first thing that you want to do, because in most cases you're already going to have students that wants to move into your building before the construction and the maintenance is done. Okay, so write that down. That's incredible. That's a little tip and a strategy you can follow to make sure that you push up your occupancy levels as quickly as possible, even while you're buying the property. Okay. Then we use these pics to advertise on Property 24, Gumtree, Facebook, etc. Let's talk a little bit about set yourself quality advertising. Okay. So you guys can see here at the bottom, these are all advertising that we do, but you can see that bottom left-hand corner, that's a single room that we rent out at one of our properties. You know, the room's been painted and we've got nice cushions there, scatter cushions. Okay. I'm quickly going to show you what our competition down the road, how their pictures looks like. Okay. And I want you to imagine that you are a parent and your son or your daughter is looking for accommodation close to the university of choice. Okay. So that's what you've got this here, but now you see this picture. Okay. So do you think we're setting ourselves apart from the competition down the road? If you think so, drop a yes in the chat box. Okay. Okay, awesome. And guys, do you know how easy it is? We literally staged a property, okay, the scatter cushions, interior decorating, nice and neat, okay. And what we've also done is we've created a video, okay. So this is a huge competitive advantage that you can follow with your properties. So I'm quickly going to click play. I'm not sure if you guys can hear the sound, but you'll be able to see the video. So imagine you're a parent or a student and you studying at NMU and you live in Pretoria or KZN and you want to come and move to us, and I show you a video like this. Cool. Thanks, Bongani. Bongani saying nice one. Awesome. Thanks, Bongani, for that. So guys, what I want you to know is, thanks, Musi. Thanks, Robin. So guys, this video and these photos, okay, were all taken on the same day by the same photographer slash videographer. Okay. I think we paid the photographer for the photos was under R1,000, and I think the video was just over R1,000. Okay. Now, if I can tell you guys the return on investment that we've made just on these two, if you want to call it digital assets for a physical asset, okay, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Okay. And these are easy things to implement. All of us can stage a property. All of us can stage a property and can get someone to take a video and photos and put it on Property 24 and put this video on YouTube and then share it with our applicants. Okay. I said, yeah, remember, most of the competition weet nie wat ons weet nie, but hashtag DDP. Okay. You need to understand, guys, that the resources that we share in the courses and in the coaching, most student accommodation landlords in the private and NSFAS sector don't know these type of things. Okay. And then if you get advanced and you start moving forward, you can get a website. We've got a website, etc. But when we started off, guys, one of the other big competitive advantages that we put in place is, guys, you can see this is a normal Google Forms document. Okay, we let our students and the parents apply for a single or a shared room through this online Google form process. Okay, it's super easy to put forward. All these resources we share with the guys in our network. Okay. And you can literally copy paste what we've done. Okay. And one of the most amazing things, that you'll see is, because your competition in the area don't necessarily, some of them might have it, don't have this type of professional outfit or these strategies. Immediately when a student and the parent start seeing an application form like this, or a video like that, or a website, or just decent photos, immediately they're going to decide, just based on that, on those first impressions, they're going to say, we rather want to stay with you compared to the competition. Okay, so that's what I want to leave with you today. Many people think when I talk about systems and processes that it's this super complicated, like super complex type of things that we implement. This is very basic. It's just, you just need to know what the roadmap is. You need to know the process you need to run through. Okay. Okay, then other things we also implement to make sure we do the right vetting and credit checks is we also ask our students and our parents. Well, our parents pay the salaries, and I see there's some of you guys here that says, Lesedi asks, how do we get access to these resources? Lesedi, I'm going to share with you in a second some of the resources that we've made available. Hudson, we are going to put everything, I will put everything on a PDF, and then I'll share it with you guys. At the end of the presentation, you guys will see my email address. So you guys are welcome to take that down, and I'll share the deck with you guys after the webinar. Okay, so you're not going to lose any information, I promise. Okay, and I'll share with you some of the resources that we're also making available for you guys to get access to this and get ready for the 2026 intake. Okay. Okay, so what I wanted to share about credit checks, vetting, leases, house rules. Okay, so one of the most important things that we get from our students and their parents is we sign a lease with the parents and the student. So it's like a dual tenant type of scenario. The parent pay the rent. I know that some of you guys are saying, but I'm an NSFAS landlord, etc. We've got NSFAS and private students in our buildings. Okay, obviously there's a different process with NSFAS, but we will get into that as well. Okay. So what we do is we then do a credit check on the parents. Okay, remember the student don't earn a salary, so we want to do a credit check on the parents. Okay, and it's basic ID, 3 months payslip or a bank statement. Okay, just you gathering that information and making sure that people, the parents are able to pay the rent. And as a rule, many of you guys will probably know this. If the rent is 3,000 Rand a month and the parents earn less than 10,000 Rand a month gross income, then obviously they don't qualify. The rent needs to be 30% of what their actual gross income is per month, right? So we just following that process, okay, immediately helps us to push up our occupancy levels, but also keep our vacancy levels as low as possible during the year, because we know that the parents are more than able to afford the rental for their kids. Okay, and that is a very easy system to implement. Another thing that we implement is we want to, and I talk about this in the resources that I'll share with you in a second, guys, is even if you just buy one property, we always want to start off like we're going to scale our portfolio. So you'll see I said here DocuSign. So DocuSign is a software that we use. We load all our leases on DocuSign, and our parents are able, and our students are able to sign the lease online. So no one needs to print out anything, okay? And it speeds up the process significantly. What this also does, guys, is a lot of our students are based in different cities. So let's say we focus on PE. A lot of our students come from Pretoria, Joburg, KZN, and during December holidays, they're on holiday. They're not in PE, but they're looking on Property 24. They're searching for accommodation. Now, all of a sudden, they see our ad, they click on it, they send us inquiry, we reach out to them with all this documentation. They are able, through the videos and the photos and the online leases, they are able to secure a room or a bed, if it's a shared room, even if they haven't been there. So can you just think about, guys, just think about the competitive advantage that you will have during November, December, January if your tenants are able to sign their leases, pay their deposits, and rent for their first month, some of them pay their whole year in advance, if they're not even at the property, you're going to, there's a good, we fill up our properties before the university starts. Okay, all those students that you saw in the pictures for the news articles, okay, most of them, they don't have accommodation. Our students goes from the airport or from a bus station, gets in a taxi, drives to our building, and they walk in and they check into their room. Okay, that's what you are able to do if you follow the right processes. Okay. And again, guys, it's not complicated. It's just about following the right process and the right information and to mirror people that's already got the results that you're looking for. Okay, let me just check if there's more questions coming in. Janine says, type your question in the Q&A. Okay. Okay, guys, so here's what we've covered so far. We looked at the demand and the supply imbalance. Okay. I am conscious that we have limited time, so I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. Some of you guys are ask about the resources. So I'm going to share that as well. Okay. We spoke a little bit about the inner game, the mindsets and the environment that we need to place ourselves in if we're looking for a different result. Okay. Guys, please remember, if you're not going to change your environment, it's not going to have a positive effect on your mindset. It's not going to empower you to make decisions and take action. You have to be able to take action to get different results. Just one of those things. Okay, then we looked at the systems. And then the last thing I wanted to also share before we jump into the next part of the webinar is, guys, another thing I want to quickly share with you that's really helped me is there is a question you're going to ask yourself before you invest in any property or any investment for that matter. Okay, this is the question that you ask yourself. You can write it down. It is, am I in control? Okay, Kiba will answer that now. Okay, so we want to be in control. So we want to know, are we in control? The way that we're in control with property is if we own the property. Okay, there are different other ways to get access to a property through subletting and those type of things, but ideally we want to be in control. Okay. Second question I want to ask myself is, what is my risk? Okay. And thirdly is, can I add value? That's where the twist comes in. Okay. So write that question down, put it up in your office or wherever you are. That's the first thing I put up when I start talking to our coaching clients and the guys that do our courses and stuff. I ask them that question first. If you buy this property, are you in control? Can you make the controlling decision? Okay. What is your risk? What is your risk and are we going to manage it? And thirdly, can we add value? Okay. We're at a point now, guys, in our business, we don't buy properties where we can't add value because that's where the real wealth generating ability and power lies. Okay. But that's not relevant to everyone. I'm just sharing that. Okay. So now what I wanted to do, guys, is I want to ask you a quick question. Has this training been, we can be here the whole evening. Like I can literally sit here until 12 tonight and just share one strategy after the other with you guys. Okay. I want to ask you if you have received value from what I've shared with you so far. Okay, awesome. The yeses are coming in. Absolutely 100% amazing. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate the positive feedback. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Quickly going to share another quick deal with you, and then we're going to look at some of the resources. Okay, so this is another property I just quickly want to share with you. What I want to share with you with this deal, guys, you can look at the numbers and we'll go and get into the questions and stuff. What's interesting with this property, if you look to the right of the photo, you'll see there's a little blue thing sticking out. Now, you'll remember one of the deals we did was a blue house. So this is one of our properties next door. So what happened is the owners reached out to us of the gray house, and they said to us, they also host students in the property, okay? But they are under massive pressure when it comes to their water and municipal bill. They can't carry the property anymore and they need to offload. Okay. So one of the things that will happen is if you start implementing the right systems and processes, guys, people will come to you for advice, and people will start talking about what you are able to do. Okay. And that will put you in a very powerful position. They call it a key person of influence in your sector. So one of the things that I try and do when I work with people is, what is the strategy we need to follow to make you a key person of influence in your industry? Okay. And in student accommodation, one of the key things that's going to make you a person of influence is the stuff that I shared with you, and you know, the other stuff as well. So that's what we want to work toward. We want to upskill. We want to make sure that we get the right skills, the right resources in place. Okay. And we were able to negotiate with these guys, and we bought this property for 250,000 Rand under market value. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm saying that, guys, is when we're going to talk about the resources and the courses and stuff, I want to put that in perspective. If you're going to follow the right processes, surround yourself with the right people, and start using the right resources, these are the type of value adds that we get access to by following the process when we buy a property. Okay, I want you to think how that will impact your net worth and the value of your portfolio if you're able to do these type of deals. Okay, and I guarantee you this will happen to you if you follow the process. Okay. Here again, you guys, I don't know if you can see the numbers here. This property also had a twist. We added, we're actually in a process now with this property to potentially add a borehole for this property and the property next door, which will have a massive positive effect on our monthly water bill and municipal bill. We're also able to create economies of scale. And then, yeah, this property also currently, when we bought it, it was doing minus 4,000 Rand a month. And when we put the twists in, all the systems, we filled up the rooms, we're currently doing just under 20,000 Rand positive cash flow. Okay. Another thing I want to share with you guys very quickly is, guys, these 3 deals we did over a 3-year period. Okay. I was doing these deals when I still had a full-time job. Okay. How many of you guys on this call, just out of interest, have full-time jobs? Just drop in the chat. Me, myself, yeah. Okay. Loads of you guys. Okay. So what is that going to do to your affordability? The chances is very good that you guys are going to be able to qualify for bonds. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right. So why I'm asking that is, guys, I was doing this remotely. I did employ people over time. Okay. That's one of the resources I share with my people as well. Show you how to do that. Okay. Currently, we have a building manager and an admin person that runs this portfolio for us. If you want to see semi-passive income, then that's the position that I'm in within a 3 to 4 year period. Okay. And it's because of right resources, right people, right support, all of the stuff that I'm sharing with you. Okay. Okay. Then I'm quickly going to pivot. So this slide is, I didn't get it right the first time. I shared my whole journey with you. I shared where I came from, guys. And you saw that for 5 to 7 years, I was in a positive negative cash flow position. Then we started to pivoting student accommodation. We made a lot of mistakes. We paid school fees. But what we did is we created a system and resources and courses, which I'll talk to you about. And the whole aim is that you guys don't waste any time or money or pay the school fees that we did. Okay. So now you've seen parts of the system. I can obviously not share everything. I wanted to ask you guys this question. What would it mean if you guys are able, you've seen some of these deals now, if you're able to get this right the first time? What would it mean to you if you did? Let's say you start with one deal. What would that mean for you in terms of your goals and your dreams and aspirations? Drop in the chat section. I want to see what it will mean for you guys. Okay, Ntando says it will be absolutely life-changing. Jason says the world. Tumuleng, it will be breakthrough. Okay, fulfillment. It just keeps going. Learning curve, save money and growth. Life-changing in a different direction. Okay, guys, that's exactly what it meant for me. Do you have to put work in? Yes, 100%. Do you need to be teachable? Yes. Okay. Will you grow as a person? 100%. Will you become massively fulfilled and proud of what you do? Yes. Will there be days where you want to quit? Yes, there will be, I promise you. Will there be days where you're on top of the world? Yes. Okay. 100%. Sylvia, it will be life-changing. Okay. Awesome, guys. So now I wanted to quickly pivot, and I want to quickly ask you guys the following things. Okay. So we've got two options at the moment. Some of you guys spoke about resources, and how can we get into this? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. You can take some of this that I taught you guys here today, and you can run at it. Okay. You can try and do it yourself. And I'm sure, like I said, guys, I will put the slides in a PDF and I'll share it with you guys. You'll get my email at the end. You can share me it. Send an email, I'll share it with you. I promise. Okay. That's option one. Option two is, what if I personally, with SAPIN's help, okay, we help you through the entire process. Okay. What if we took an active role in your results and worked with you to help you achieve this for yourself? What will that mean to you? Okay. Non-paleo, please. Okay. Everyone's just like, yes, please. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. Another question I just quickly want to ask you guys. Let me ask you this question. Do you think I can cover everything there is in student accommodation in 2 hours? It's already 8 o'clock. We're going to probably push on to like 8:30. The obvious question is no. Bernard says no. Bongani, no. Can't. Yes, guys, you're 100% correct. Okay. And that is why we have tailored the resources. We've literally taken our school fees, everything, and all the stuff that we've learned and everything that we do on a daily basis in our portfolio, and we've built a tailor-made 9-module course, okay, to help student accommodation investors with the main aim of filling rooms fast, boost their cash flow, and turn systems into rental income starting from the very first month. Okay, that's what we've built. Okay, I said here, it's 9 modules. I'll quickly show you actually who's involved in the course, what we talk about. I'll show you the value that it has, etc. Okay, so there's 9 modules. You get access, lifetime access. You get access to the SAPIN community, which is absolutely crucial. Okay, if I quickly just do a quick snapshot of what it entails, here you can see where you start the course snapshot overview. There you'll see Andrew Walker with the introduction. Andrew's obviously the CEO of the South African Property Investor Network. And then you'll see myself. I start with the first topic, property selection. Then You've got Christian Jansen, which is an absolute specialist in property financing. Christian actually financed my first property, so he really knows what he's talking about. So he's also in the course. There you can see myself also doing another module on market research. They've got Jody Shaper on insurance. I saw some of you guys ask questions around insurance. We cover that. Then I quickly shared here, guys, here's what the student accommodation course could do for you, okay? So firstly, shortcut the learning curve, okay? I took 5 to 7 years to make a shift from a negative cash flow position to a positive cash flow position. What this course will do is it will throw you into a world where you fast track how to get into that world that took me 5 to 7 years, okay? We cover how to find high demand properties faster. Some of you guys on the group literally asked in the chat, how do we get these properties in our city? We talk about that. We look at the property types, okay? I said to you, we're going to start your portfolio. Even if you buy one property and just want 15 to 20,000 Rand positive cash flow, we're going to set your property up like you want to scale it with technology and the right systems and processes. So if you decide in, I don't know, a year or two, you want to buy more property, then you're in a position to do that, okay? The whole thing is built with consistent monthly cash flow in mind. Okay, that's why we're all here. We want to build assets that put money in our pocket on a monthly basis, regardless if we're on holiday or at work, that can build up monthly cash flow. Okay, and then a big thing also is financial independence. A lot of you guys said that. It's to achieve financial independence through a niche that works. Okay. Then I quickly want to share a concept with you guys that's really life-changing. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what actually increases your chances of success by 95%. So according to the American Society for Training and Development, okay, if you share your goal, let's say you've got a goal for financial independence or start building a positive cash flow property portfolio, and you share that with someone, okay, on a consistent basis, you have a 65% higher probability of reaching that goal than when you don't share it with someone and you just keep it to yourself, okay? But guys, here's the kicker. If you take that same goal and you share it with someone that's already achieved the same goal, so that person that got the result, okay, and you are accountable, you're receiving accountable information through like what we will do in this course and through the network, you are 95% more, the probability is 95% more that you will reach the goal. So you're almost 100% guaranteed that you will reach your goal if you share it with someone on a consistent basis and you receive accountable information. Okay, that's mind-blowing for those of us that wants to go through that transformational education process and get that end result that we're after.